Suicide, then forgiveness. Shattering stigma, igniting hope. I'm Elaine Lindsay, and my mission is to end the silence, the stigma, the shame surrounding suicide. We talk about the hard stuff because asking for help should be as easy as ordering a coffee. Here, we share real stories from those who've lost someone, survived an attempt, live with ideation, or battle mental health challenges. Why? Because sharing your burden can lighten the load. Please note, Suicide Then Forgiveness, the podcast, is for education only. Some of the subject matter could be triggering for those who are either grieving or having mental health problems. If you're in North America, you can text 988 for immediate support. And if you're elsewhere, please reach out to your local suicide hotline or mental health service. You matter. My aim is to normalize the conversation so you feel safe enough to speak up and ask for help. So now, let's start the show. Hello there.
Hey, how are you?
I'm great, and
Nice to
it
see
is
you.
awesome to be back
That
with.
opening is so beautiful. I have a lump in my throat.
Oh, thank you. We'll take 1 second. Shaun Proulx, my guest, he just stopped me in my tracks, and we all know it's hard to shut me up. So there you go. The beginning of that intro is a song I wrote.
Oh, you wrote it.
I did,
It's beautiful.
and not the music.
The
I wrote
lyrics.
the words because I fit all the categories here,
Right.
which is why I do this. And it's relatively new that we've put it in the intro, but I'm going to do a show pretty soon where I'll talk about the writing of that song.
It's such good work that you do, Elaine.
Thank you so much. It's an ode to my friend Andrea, who I lost at 16. And sadly, the other 5 people I lost by the time I was 30. It is so prevalent in our age that we lose people and that people, even young kids, get bullied. They have issues with other people who don't understand them, people who are fearful, people who are, I'm going to say, miseducated, because it's not a lack of education, it's a lack of the proper education. That all aside, the reason I asked Shaun to join me is because this is June. June is Men's Mental Health Month, and it's also Pride Month.
Happy Pride.
Happy Pride,
Happy Pride.
absolutely. And that's something people have asked. Do we still want to say Happy Pride with all the stuff that goes on? I think yes, we
More than
absolutely
ever, we want to
do.
be saying that.
Yes, yes. And Shaun, my dear friend, is in Toronto, and he is, as I have said before, he is Canada's Oprah.
That. Someone said it once and it's never dropped. It's.
But he does not give away cars. Just okay.
I would if I could.
Yeah, yeah, he would if he could. He has an amazing sidekick named Leo, who's absolutely gorgeous. And Leo, I should clarify that. Leo is Shaun's dog, his fur kid.
Four-legged son.
There you go, his 4-legged son, and he is just lovely. I tend to remember my people that matter to me by their fur kids.
Oh, do you?
I do. I do. Sometimes they're not fur either. Sometimes they have scales. But anyway, all kidding aside, we want to talk about things that are important for us, the allies that are here for the men in our lives, for the lesbians in our lives, for the gay and queer and trans and two-spirit and pansexuals and non-binary, transgendered people. We are people like me are here for you. And Shaun is going to talk with me about how do we step up and do what we need to do so that people are more educated about, I guess, the differences. Because quite frankly, there aren't that many.
No.
Okay. And something I want people to know, because this is super important, if you cut any one of us, whatever our leanings are, we all bleed red blood. Bottom line, that's it. And for me, I am simple when it comes to this stuff. I believe we are humans. And I understand why we have to have the labels we have. But if it were up to me, we'd have one label, and that's human, because I think that's all that matters. And the only thing that should separate us is a space between us as we come together for a hug.
It's beautiful. I wanted to say, Elaine, I said at the beginning of this, the work you do is so good, really good. And you're an example of what an ally really is in the queer community. A lot of people mistakenly think that an ally is someone who just shows up at Pride or goes to your gay parties with you or says they support your gay marriage or whatever simplistic things that could go on with people when they think they're allies. What a real ally is someone who does the work. And I've watched you over the years and even just inviting me on to your podcast today. It's you're thoughtful and you want to make change happen and you take action towards that change. And that's true allyship. And I thank you for that.
That means the world to me. It really does. Because for so long, I think I was frozen in everything. Before I started doing the podcast, I wanted to help. I wanted to help so many, so much. But sometimes when you don't know where to start, you're just frozen. And there've been a few challenges in my life. So sometimes I had to pay attention to those things, and it would just leave me horrifically unsatisfied that I just wasn't stepping up. And my husband and my friends will tell you, I've always been I've always been one to stand up for the underdog, whatever that might. In grade 1, I got in trouble with the brothers and the nuns at the Catholic school in Toronto, St. Philip Neri, because I kept
Why am I not
biting.
having a hard time picturing that? It's not taxing my imagination.
Yeah, I kept biting the guys in I was grade 1, grade 5, because I couldn't reach high enough to punch them in the face, but I could bite them. And they made a habit of picking on this young man. He was in their class, but I think he was a little bit slow, developmentally delayed, we say. And they used to take his marbles all the time. And then they'd ask him to play every day, and he'd get so excited. They wanted to play with him, but they didn't. They just wanted to steal his marbles.
Kids are awful.
They really are, okay? Kids, as much as our kids can be wonderful, we have to train them. We have to mold them and tell them what's right because they come to us unfiltered. There's no holding back. There's no understanding of what's right and wrong. My lovely youngest grandson, who is now 8, about 4 years ago at breakfast in a full restaurant, said, Daddy said you're 60 some years old. I said, Oh, that's right. I think 64, whatever. And he, Oh my God, you are so old. And the
I'd
whole
smack
restaurant,
them.
I thought it was funny. But for a woman who doesn't share her age, that can be devastating.
Yeah. Yeah.
And kids are like that. There are none of those filters. And sometimes the filters are not good because if you teach your children to fear people who are different, then those aren't the filters we want those kids to have.
No, it's a hard cycle to break, though.
It really is. The only filters we want are the filters of kindness and empathy.
The problem with empathy is that it's not taught, and it's something that needs to be
Yeah.
taught. And do you know in Australia and New Zealand, that's part of their curriculum,
Yep.
and Denmark as well? They
Yeah.
teach empathy to kids there.
Yeah.
Because if you don't, and we do things like cut arts funding in schools, and so that cuts people's imaginations when they're little kids. If they're not exploring the arts and playing and doing the things that make your imagination come alive, then we have an empathy problem because it takes an imagination to be able to empathize.
Yeah.
And so there's a whole bunch of things that we're doing wrong where empathy is concerned.
Oh, absolutely. Another, when my son was 7 or 8, my son was a very precocious child and incredibly good in math. However, he couldn't draw a stick man to save his life. His sister, airy fairy, God love her, cannot do math to save her life back then.
I can relate.
She's a very talented artist. She was the window dresser for our store for years at 15. Okay, she's incredibly talented, incredibly creative. And he made fun of her in the store as we were closing one night. This will sound bizarre, but he liked to tally the MasterCard receipts with the little calculator because that's his thing. And he was making fun of her about not being able to count. I came up and said, okay, stop right there. Okay, this is not fair.
That kind of thing lasts a lifetime.
Yeah, it really does. And I said, I want you to know every single human being on this planet has one skill that they excel at. Everyone has one. It doesn't matter who they are or what challenges they have, one skill. Math is not hers, but you can't even draw a stick man. And your sister paints and draws and carves rocks and does all kinds of things that you can't do. Does she make fun of you? And he was very upset because he's precocious and didn't want to talk to me and told his father I was mean and blah, blah. But it stuck.
It's
And
stuck.
he understood what I was saying to him.
Yeah, we need a variance on that kind of conversation when it comes to talking about queer kids, queer people.
Yes. And you, there are children who know they're not in the body they were meant to be in.
Yes.
That's not who they are. That's not how they feel. And for all the fear and loathing that's out there that, oh, you're going to make everybody queer. No, you're not. Okay. That's not how it works. It's like I could make everybody a munchkin and be as short as me. That
It's
doesn't
such an
work.
old trope. It's such an old
It
trope.
is. And it's so ridiculous because when you see someone who's allowed to be themselves, and I'm talking to my friend, it took knowing Laura's story for me to fully understand how deep it runs, how important it is to let people be themselves. And now, not as old as me, definitely not in your range, Laura is living her best life. And that took a lot. And the fact is, having allies is what helped her along. Having allies is what helps all of us.
The queer movement is nothing without allyship. We can't do it on our own. We can't be the ones who are not normal, quote unquote, and beg the normal people to accept us because that'll never work. The normal people
No.
need to turn to the normal people and say we must accept them.
Yeah.
And that's what works.
Yeah, except that word.
I put it in quotes
Yeah.
because that's what people think though. Straight people are the normal ones.
Yeah. Okay. I'm going to say
But
right
that is
here,
normal.
no, there is nothing
Oh no, I
normal.
don't agree with the concept, but I think that the concept is
It
alive,
is. And I think
right?
it's
We
ridiculous.
live in a heteronormative world.
Like, in all honesty, if you really think about it, straight people, listen to me here. Do you really want to live in a world where everybody's exactly the same and we all wear beige and we all leave the house at 9 a.m. and we all come back at 5?
Some do.
Oh my God.
Some do.
I wouldn't last 5 seconds. I need variety in my life.
But you understand that diversity is our friend, sameness isn't our friend. And a
Yeah.
lot of people think that sameness is what we want.
Oh my God. That sameness, I think, is what ultimately kills people
Yes.
because sameness kills hope. It kills curiosity. And if we don't have curiosity and gratitude, we don't have hope.
Everything around us is born from the diversity of ideas and thoughts and
Yeah.
conclusions that we reach as a whole. Without that, there's nothing going on in the world, like literally in the world.
Yeah. We never would have got to the wheel.
You
It
wouldn't have
wasn't
art.
one person.
No, you'd have nothing.
Exactly.
Innovation,
Yeah.
nothing. We need the diversity.
We need the diversity. And not only that, I'm a baby boomer. I said to you off camera, I'll be 70 in November. So I've been on this planet a long time. When I was a kid, there was a family who lived downstairs in the apartment building where we lived. And the young man's name was Larry. And Larry was, I think, probably 10 years older than
Mm.
me. And Larry had a hard time making friends. And people made fun of Larry, which really annoyed me because he was really nice. And him and his mom really liked cats. We didn't see his father a lot because he worked a lot. But I now know that Larry was gay. I didn't know it then, and it didn't matter. Larry lived downstairs, and Larry was a friend. I don't categorize, I don't have a book that says, okay, these are my 5'2" friends, and these are my 6 feet friends,
Mm.
and these are my friends who only wear red, and these are like, it's ridiculous. So, why would I quantify people by their sexual, I don't want to say preference, because I know that being gay isn't necessarily a preference. It is who you are. And so preference is not the word.
No, that's an old word.
It's a very old word. Yeah. And I want to use like,
Orientation.
thank you. Okay. Whatever your orientation is, it really has no bearing on me.
Well, that's the way we
Unless,
wish everyone thought.
yeah, unless I find someone attractive, then why would their own orientation have anything to do with me? I don't, I never walked into a job when I was younger. Hi there. I'm Elaine. I'm 5'2" and I'm hetero. They would have sent me packing thinking I was completely off my nut. It,
But we like labels. Society loves a label.
yeah.
It makes us understand each other. It puts each other in different rungs on the ladder of society. We like to
Uh,
place people in their boxes
See that there we have
and
it.
put them in their
Okay?
place.
Yeah, that's why it's a problem for me. I don't like boxes. Boxes have sharp edges. That's not for me. That must be why I think the way I do. I don't want to put people in boxes. You can't get close and cuddle in boxes. I mean, and people who know me know I will hug you. It doesn't matter if I've known you 5 minutes or 5 years or 5 decades. I will hug you because it's who I am. And I don't know how to, I don't know, inject that into other people.
We lead
I
by
would,
example.
yeah, I want people to be able to see through my eyes. I'm not, let's put it this way, okay? There are people that can be annoying of every kind in the world, tall people, short people, hetero people, gay people. There are people who just don't have a great attitude. It doesn't have anything to do with their orientation.
No.
It's just who they are or who they choose to be. Because quite often our attitude is what we choose. And the beauty of that is, and why I think we can make change. Viktor Frankl said it best. No one can take away my choice.
True.
I can choose to be inclusive. I can choose to open my mind and learn about the people around me. So I don't think
It's a
that
lot of
we
work for a
as
lot of people, though. You know that.
I know that, and I know it's a lot of work, but I think there's a seed of something there that we can get people to realize, just choose to be open, to be curious,
Yeah,
to
but
learn
when
something.
you're raised to be closed, when you're raised to be fearful, when you're raised to be hateful of others, which is what is the cause of all of this, hate's taught, then
Yeah,
to open your mind up at a later point in life is a really hard thing to do.
yeah.
And what makes change is when people know another person who's queer. That's when the change starts to really happen. If they know somebody and they like somebody and then they find out they're queer, it doesn't matter to them anymore because they already like them or love them. That's when the change happens.
Okay. So we have to have mixers everywhere, in every neighborhood, so you can get to meet someone of a different persuasion. And I'm not just saying for pride, I'm saying immigrants, I'm saying people are indigenous peoples, there are people that don't know any or have not taken the time to meet them. For me, it's all part of a bigger sadness that we're not allowing ourselves to have these experiences, which can be so wonderful. You are a riot to hang out with. Okay? You are a lovely gentleman. I absolutely adore you, and hopefully I'll make you blush because you are. You're just absolutely lovely.
You're very kind.
You're not the only gentleman I know of any persuasion, but I'm always open to meet more people because they are what make the world go round.
I'm listening to you and I love everything you're saying. I guess it's making me really feel that the world isn't set up for everything that you're wanting and desiring and wishing for and thinking could happen. It's just not constructed that way. We live in a patriarchy and we live in a world where the gay people are still lower on the totem pole than others. It's not going to be solved by a mixer. Do you know what I'm saying? It
Yeah,
would be nice to be able to just do that, but it's almost like a 60s hippie song that you're singing.
yeah, yeah. Era. So,
No?
yeah, I really do. And it's good that we're
It's
here because what
systemic.
I want to say is, so what do you think is the best way to go about what's a small change that we allies can affect right now and put out into the world so that we can make it more inclusive and safer
If you
for
see
those that
something,
we
say
are allies
something.
of?
If you see something, say something. That adage, I think, is key for allies. We go through life all day, every day, and somebody right now is being abused because they're queer. If you see something, say something. I live right here in Toronto's gay village, and you still see it all the time on Church Street, which should be a safe
Yeah,
street for people to be on. Abuse being hurled at queer people, at drag queens, couples holding hands. You see it all the time, and you've got to speak up and condemn that. But it's got to be the allies that do that to the allies.
yeah,
The restructuring needs to go on within the place of the problem. We queer people aren't doing anything wrong. We can't fix what's broken in your home. You have to do the work in your own home.
that was so good. So good. We could not have scripted that. It is up to the allies.
Because the allies are the ones who have the problems.
Yeah.
Not the allies. The straight
It,
world has the
yeah.
problems. So
Yeah.
it's up to the straight world to fix the problems. We can't do anything about it.
Yeah.
We can demand things, we can ask for things, we can hope for things, we can protest for things, but we don't have the control that the straight population has.
That's
They have the ability to change and they have to have the desire to change and the wanting to change and to guide each other into that change. We can't hold people's hands for them and pull them into our direction. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. That doesn't work. It has to be us, the allies.
Just like
That
you told the story of your son and your daughter, and you chastised your son and explained to him the way things were. That's what needs to go on within straight communities between allies.
yeah. And I believe we have to start with education. I've said that before. But educating and working on things like bullying in school and letting people know that kids being different is how it should be. Okay, we're not meant to be the same. It's just, it doesn't even make sense for everyone to be exactly the same.
No, the bullying piece is really important because as somebody who was bullied mercilessly when I was a kid for being gay, for being different, growing up in rural Ontario, where the mindset is a little more closed than urban centers, I went through an awful lot. And you carry the scars of that, the trauma of that into your adulthood. When I first started out in Toronto in my early 20s, I had no self esteem whatsoever. I had very little going on for myself. And a lot of that goes back to the constant bullying. You get messages throughout your whole life, society telling you you're wrong, your family telling you you're wrong, the kids around you telling you you're wrong. You become someone who believes he's wrong. And it's an awful lot of work to get out of that mindset and to become someone who's worthy. And I've done the work on that, and I'm pleased with myself, and I like who I am, and I'm comfortable in my own skin now. But there are kids being bullied right now all around the world for being queer, and they're going to go through the same predicaments and patterns that I went through, that millions of others have gone through. And so the bullying piece is key, because you've got to stop that. You've got to stop that and stop letting people condemn other people for being different, especially in this day and age of social media, where it can be so pervasive, so cruel, and so deadly and damaging.
That's, for me, that's a big place to start because I've seen the good social media can do. I've been in this space for a very long time, and knowing the bad it can do, that should be the impetus for all of us who are allies to step up. But I understand what you're saying because I have friends that have posted information about Pride Month, and people come out of the woodwork and put their hateful comments up,
Right.
whether they know you or not. I think it's wonderful that those of us are paying attention. And that's really part of being an ally. Is
See, when
paying
you see that, though,
attention.
you've got to call that out,
Exactly. And that's
even
my
on
point.
social media. Yeah.
Yeah. Make a point of calling it out. And I'm a little more annoying. Just ask Facebook. I will report each and every one of
Good
them
for you.
because that's a hate crime.
The reporting helps because it removes the offensive
Yeah.
post, but what really helps is publicly calling them out
Yeah.
on what they've said
Yeah.
and making them think twice. And you've got to do it in a way where they're going to think about it, not be so defensive or angry because you're calling them out, but give them food for thought.
And yeah, and doing it in a way that
They've got
if
their
you,
dignity intact.
yeah, if you can manage to not call them wrong, but point out that their actions are, and that's a very fine line to walk. But that's the difference between getting someone's back up and having them consider what you've asked.
Yeah.
And it is such a fine line. It's a really hard one to walk. And I'm not good at it all the time because sometimes I just
Oh, you
lose
want to
my
rage post back sometimes.
yeah. Yeah. And yeah, and just wanting to slap people that hurt the people that matter to me. Not an effective use.
Not a good contribution.
No, it's really not. And it's not a good look. Other people are not going to find that attractive either.
No, you're just as bad as they are.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. As my grandmother said, you're going to be tarred with the same brush. So making a point of taking a breath. As an ally, you can take a step back, take a breath, and make an educated, thought out response, but don't let it go. Don't ever let it go.
No. You can explain to the person that what they've said is powerful and it carries a lot of weight and
Yeah,
that there's a lot of consequences to the power that they're putting out there with their words. And
absolutely.
explain that to them and leave them with their dignity intact and not
Yeah,
feeling like they've been shamed, but explain to them what this is doing to people and how it's not helping anybody.
yeah, absolutely. And I think Maya Angelou said that the more we know, the better we do, which can be useful in this case. Okay. I don't remember how long ago there was I don't even remember who the group was that did it, but they had picked people from across Canada who were anti, they didn't understand people that were different because I don't think it was just gay. They had gone into different areas and put these people together with people who were a different race or a different orientation or
Right.
what have you. And they made them work together for a few weeks. And in the end, they all came to see that the other person
Of
was
course.
just a person with some different thoughts.
Of course. That's why it takes getting to know somebody who's queer to accept them and change your whole outlook on gay people. Because a lot of the times it's just a figment of people's imagination, right? They
Yeah,
don't know a gay person. They've been taught that gay people are horrible, that we're pedophiles, that we're groomers, that we're coming for your kids, all that kind of nonsense. And so you've got this monster in your head. And then you meet someone who's quite lovely, fun to be around, that you like a lot, and you realize that the monster is just a figment of your imagination that you've
yeah.
been taught this whole time.
And telling stories on myself. In 1999, I started working with a gentleman. He was in one of the other offices close to me, and we became really good friends. And we would go to movies and do all kinds of stuff together. And that's when I started talking about gay marriage. I thought I was a recovering Catholic. And I said to him one night, we were going out and we were talking about different things. And I said, yeah, I think maybe you should leave marriage alone. He said, whoa, why? Hang on. Like, you're my friend. And I said, oh, I don't have a problem with that. But, and then I really had to think about it. And it took a few months for
So
him and I
you had a
going
problem
back.
with it?
I thought in my head, I guess the still Catholic part of me that was
Right.
stuck in parochial school thought, "Ooh, that's a sacrament." And then I thought, suicide's the worst sin in the Catholic religion, and I don't believe that. So I have work to do.
There's so many forces at work. There's toxic masculinity, there's religion,
Yeah,
there's so much that needs to be fixed. That's why I said earlier when you were projecting your wish list of the way you
yeah,
wish people were, so many forces at play that are making people's opinions form and their hate flourish.
knowing that I could then investigate what I thought was in my head and realize that was ridiculous. Okay,
But
let
you're
me.
self-aware. A lot of people aren't. They're not going to investigate the thought that's inside their head. They're just going to feel the emotion that they feel when they think the thought.
Oh, that's horrible.
It's true though.
Yeah.
People are lazy. That's
And
why I
see,
applaud you and the work you're doing. You go out of your way to put ideas out into the world and to be a really good ally to the queer community, and I appreciate that so much.
it's because you all matter. Like, I don't see any one person of any persuasion being any less valuable than any other. Everybody has the opportunity to do something marvelous in the world for other people. And that, to me, that's a miracle. That's an incredible
If
gift.
we could bottle your attitude and sell it, make everyone have a dose, I think the world would be a better place, but it's not that way, unfortunately.
Yeah. And my point there was okay, I'm not perfect. I have never purported to be perfect or even close. But I did have to overcome some of the things that I grew up
Yeah,
thinking. And even in the hetero world, we went home to Scotland when I was 13 years old. And I don't know what happened between my grandfather and my father and my mom. But in the middle of the night, I woke up and my mother was sitting on the side of the bed. And I think my dad had been crying. And it spun my world out of because
to
he
see your
was a
dad cry.
man. He was our provider.
Right.
Men don't cry. Men
Yeah.
are silent. Men don't get upset. And it took me a couple of years to get to a place where I realized that was actually a bonus that my father was a real human being.
Yeah.
Now, granted, he helped my mom. He would do the vacuuming and the dishes and what have you when all the curtains were closed. He was,
That's huge.
yeah, but
When
I
we
think,
talk about toxic masculinity, which is a subject that we've only just started to grasp and
yeah,
understand, it's brand
yeah,
new to us. And when we're ruled by the patriarchy, we have been for so long now.
yeah,
You get men growing up that are afraid to be emotional, that are afraid to be vulnerable,
yeah,
who then look at guys who are gay, who are more in touch with their emotional side, more emotionally intelligent, more in touch with their feminine energy. And they're chastised and beaten down because they are not men, and they're crying and they're vulnerable and they love each other and they're soft and they're emotional. And those are things that contribute to the ongoing problem between straight people and queer people all day, every day.
yeah. And in different races, it is culturally not appropriate
No,
for men to not be toxic.
no,
And that I've had guys on the show who that's what they talk about within their culture. It's impossible to show feelings. So you can imagine what it would be for them to come out as a different sexual
I know
orientation.
so many black guys, gay black guys, who are not
Yeah.
out to their family and their crowd. They're on the down low all the time,
Oh my God. Yes. Yes.
which is a huge problem.
Yeah. And there are lots of guys. Nathaniel is one of them, and I can see a bunch in my head that are all working hard with their communities to acknowledge these differences and to say, you know what, step up, be a man, have feelings, and whatever those feelings you have, acknowledge them, honor them. Don't get stuck in these stupid stereotypes.
Not easy to do, once again,
No,
at
no,
all.
none of it's easy. And I do understand that. I think I had the, I don't know, luck. Maybe that's not the right word. I volunteered at Rideau Regional Hospital School. It was a huge asylum for developmentally delayed people and other issues. I was there from the time I was 12 years old. At 15, they started paying me to work there for the summers. So I had a much broader view of the world because I saw a lot of things that a lot of people my age did not. And it gave me a more open
Yes.
attitude.
Yeah, it's like traveling almost.
Yeah,
Seeing
yeah,
other people, other ways of living, other ways of being.
yeah. And for as much as my parents, God rest them both, were Scottish, we are working class. We came from nothing. And there were tropes that came with them. But my parents were the first to step up and never let someone eat on a holiday alone. They were the first to make sure if someone walked by them on the street and they didn't have, my dad would make sure that they got to eat. There was always an outpouring for all, even with the tropes and the weird old stereotypical things. And a friend of my father's that he worked with and I actually babysat for. He had come out after he left the service, but while he was a veteran peacekeeper.
So when was that?
Would have been in the early 90s. And he just ghosted the peacekeepers. And my dad looked everywhere for him. And he kept saying, "Have you seen his brother? Do you?" And I hadn't. And I ended up running into him at Spamalot at the NAC here. And I said, "What on earth is wrong with you? Dad's been looking for you." He goes, "Oh, no, your dad couldn't." I said, "Don't be ridiculous.
Your dad couldn't what?
Handle the fact
Right.
that he had come out." I said, "It doesn't matter to Dad. He's old. Yeah, he's old school, but you're our friend." And he came to my mother's funeral in 2012. And my father was so thankful. And he did not word it well when he talked to him, but he understood what my dad was saying. And he said, "Tony," my dad said, "don't ever. Okay, there is nothing about you that isn't the same to me."
That's everything
And
we're talking about, isn't it?
yeah, yeah. And it was, for me, it was wonderful. And our eldest granddaughter, she went through a period where she was seeing girls and then both, and whatever you do is fine with me. But this was, again, early 2013, 2014. And she had put something up about she was dating Jen and on her wall. And I said to my husband, "I guess I better tell Dad." And so I called my dad and I said, "I just wanted to tell you something about Marilyn." Oh my God, what's wrong? Is she okay?" "Yes, she's fine." "She's fine. But I wanted to know she's dating someone." And he said, "Where have you been? I know that." And I said, "What do you mean you know that?" "Jen, have you not seen Jen?"
And he was totally
Um,
accepting?
okay. And she had put something on her wall that said how incredible it was that her great grandfather was totally okay with her
Yeah, I
lifestyle.
notice this with people when they're aging as they get more accepting of the people around them. I remember my mom when I was a little boy, maybe a teenager, I was telling her I thought my art teacher was gay, and she said, "But you should feel sorry for him then." And I knew I was gay and I never forgot that. But to
Oh,
talk to my
and
mom these days, there's no opinion remotely close to that. She's very
yeah,
much let everyone be. And I noticed that with a lot of older people as they're aging, they drop a lot of the hate and the misunderstanding, and they
yeah.
go more for where we all want to be, which is grounded in love.
And I guess it's funny because I hadn't thought about this, but as we were talking about it, my grandmother and my aunt came to Canada with us in the late 50s. And we all lived in Ottawa, and then I moved to Toronto. But when I was a teenager, my grandmother had me go to her hairdresser because she did not like the brassy color of my hair. And Jack was the top stylist at Freeman's. He was a wonderful man. And I worked at Freeman's. I knew he was head of the group. He was part of this gay group that ran the Coral Reef, which was a few streets over. And thought, "Oh, cool." I didn't say anything for a long time. And when I was in my late 20s, something had happened. And I said, "Oh my God, Grant, is Jack okay?" And she said, "He is. But I can't remember if his name was Ken, but Ken, whatever, and they're having a very hard time because Ken was sick." And I said, "Oh, his friend?" She said, "No, his lover." "What?" She goes, "Of course I know. I've been seeing the man
Why
for
didn't you know?
27 years. Like, what's wrong with you?" Yeah. And I thought, "Oh, wow." And maybe that's why I'm more likely to be open because some of my family were much more open than one would ever think.
Elaine, I hate to say this, but we've gone
But
over
we
time.
Oh my God, we have.
There's
I would love to
more
have
waiting
you
for you.
back at some point.
Love
Hopefully,
to love talking to you.
I love talking to you too. I hope we've covered enough of what we wanted to cover. Happy Pride Month to everybody. For men's mental health, everybody. If you're a man or have a man in your life, make sure he takes care of his mental health. We want to keep you all here. Mwah. I absolutely adore you, Shaun.
I love you too, and you always bring the light. Thank you. You're such a lovely person.
You're
It's
wonderful.
really good
You are a
work that you
balm
do.
to the soul.
Oh, thanks so much.
So, to our audience, you'll find all the information about Shaun below on the bio and the show notes, and we'll make sure you have ways that you contact him if you need to. On that note, I say thanks very much for being with us. We'll talk to you later.
Bye,
Bye.
Elaine.
Thank you for being here for another inspiring episode of Suicide Zen Forgiveness. We appreciate you tuning in. Please subscribe and download on your favorite service and check out SZF's YouTube channel or Facebook community. If you have the chance to leave a 5-star rating or review, it'd be greatly appreciated. Please refer this to a friend you know who may benefit from the hope and inspiration from our guests. Suicide Zen Forgiveness was brought to you by the following sponsors. Proulx Social Media, the digital integration specialists. Let them get you rocking page 1 in the search results. Canada's keynote humorist Judy Kroon, motivational speaker, comedian, author, and stand-up coach at Second City. Judy has been involved for over a decade in the City Street Outreach Program in Toronto.
The ultimate